Hello and welcome to a quick Hearthstone discussion video. My name's Lumin and I'm here to talk to you about game boards. Yes. You may be thinking to yourself, well Lumin, that sounds really boring. Why would I listen to a video about game boards? Let me tell you. I think there's a whole lot of potentially super cool stuff that Blizzard could do with game boards in the future to make the game more interesting or enjoyable for us to play, and at the same time much more profitable for them as a company looking to make money with their free-to-play game. So, stay a while and listen to what I have to say, because it's going to be interesting. To some of you, I guess. To others, not so much. If you want to see gameplay or anything like that, this is probably the wrong video. But what I want to say is that I think they need to start working on, and not now. Okay, the game is still in beta, it's still really early in beta. There's a lot of other stuff that they should be focusing on now, not game boards, unless all the art assets for the game are done and they're just working on the rest of the stuff, which I know for a fact isn't actually a thing. They still need to implement a lot of the animated portraits for the golden cards. They still need to fix a couple of the cards portraits themselves. There's a bunch of stuff that they still need to do. Maybe the menus and stuff still need a bit of tweaking here and there. I'm quite sure, I'm confident actually, that they're not done with all the art assets in the game, but when they do finish, when their art team, their art development team has a bit of free time on their hands, I would urge them to spend a bit of time walking around the world of Warcraft looking for ideas. Because I think that although I like the 4 game boards in the game at the moment, for those that don't know, we have Stormwind, Orgrimmar, Stranglethorn Vale, and Pandaria. While I like those, I think that they could add a whole lot more, and when they add them, they don't need to add them straight into the game for everyone that just plays it for free. They could put them in their in-game store, and I honestly think that they need to take some inspiration from Valve with this. Blizzard really need to look how Valve did games like Team Fortress or Dota 2. Dota 2 specifically is a really good example, because in Dota 2 you can buy custom UIs, custom HUDs for your game, and that doesn't really affect other players playing in the game with you, but for you as the player spending your time in the game, it could make it more enjoyable because you're looking at something that you would find more aesthetically pleasing. The same could be said for Hearthstone. Now what I propose is that they add a whole bunch of different ones, obviously based on locations in the world of Warcraft. Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Pandaria, Northrend, doesn't matter. Whatever comes in the next expansion, it's okay. Just add a whole bunch of it. Add them to the in-game store, let players buy them with either gold or real money, and when one of these is purchased, now I can't say what they should cost, because I have absolutely no idea. I don't know, maybe $5 for a game board? I don't know what the equivalent of that is in gold, but $5. There you go. I'd pay $5 for a really cool game board. I would, especially if it goes towards supporting Blizzard. They could even do charitable acts with things like this. They could add a special game board that only comes out at a certain time of the year, that you can only buy at that time of the year, that would, say, give some of its earnings to a certain organization. I don't know. They do that with pets in World of Warcraft. Why not do it in Hearthstone? So now, different game board ideas that I personally had, well, I had a whole lot. I don't know why I spent so much time thinking about this, but I did. I even lay in bed thinking about this. I've been lying in bed thinking about Hearthstone a whole lot recently. Don't know if that's healthy, but think Blasted Lands. You could have Nethergard Keep on the one side. You could have that big ogre fortress on the other side. Bottom left, you could have the Tainted area. Bottom right, you could have the Dark Portal. Then, to spice things up, and that already would be kinda interesting, you could like click on the Dark Portal and like a big demon could stick his head out there and like roar at you. It's kinda cool. You could see little peons or workers or whatever in Nethergard Keep marching up and down, doing things, going about their business. You can click on them to bother them. They can shout at you. Stop that, Lumin. Stop that. I've got a job to do. That kind of thing. That kind of thing would be fun. Then, to make it all better, now apart from the animations and the four corners of the game board, you could modify the rest of it as well. Have a dusty wind blow by. So sort of like you'd expect to find in Orgrimmar or any of the areas in and around Durotar or something like that. Have like a tumbleweed going by every now and then you can click on to hone your mouse tracking skills. Something like that. Just make it more interesting looking. Give the player that immersion factor, that atmosphere, that feel. Make him feel like he's in the blasted lands. He's standing between those four landmarks. Playing a game of cards with an opponent. That's cool. That's really cool. There are so many other ideas that I've thought of. I thought Western Plaguelands would be fun, because in Western Plaguelands, that's the starting area for the Undead in World of Warcraft. You could have Scarlet Monastery, top right. That's a very recognizable landmark. Then you could have the Mill, top left. You could have Brill, bottom left, and maybe the Undercity, bottom right. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly in the right positions, because they didn't do that with the Orgrimmar maps, or the Stranglethorn Vale maps, or any of the other maps. It's just known landmarks from those areas. And then in this one, what you could do is, you could have it be a little more creepy. It could be a nighttime map. I saw some really interesting stuff that they did with lighting in the tutorial, when they had that pack of free cards lying there. You were on one of the regular maps, but it was all dimmed down. Now imagine how cool it would look if you're playing a game in perhaps not as dark a situation, but in a slightly darker situation where your spells and stuff make nice little glows when they travel across the board, where those four areas surrounding the 4 points in the corners have their own little glows coming from them. Maybe in Brill you've got the Brill Inn, and then you've got a nice warm light coming out of its front door. That would be cool. You've got a slightly colder light coming from the Undercity. Then you could do much more interesting and out there things. They could have a Zangarmarsh game board. Think about how crazy cool that would look. You could have Coilfrang Reservoir there. You could have Sporgar. You could have that big tree. I'm not sure what it's called. I don't know. Then you could have the mushroom area with those big mushroom giants. Imagine that. I think it's called the Spawning Glen or something. But imagine that. Then you could have little fireflies floating around there. Maybe a little spore bat here and there. It could have slightly more out there colors. You could work with pinks and purples and blues and stuff like that to make it much more interesting. And talking about out there colors, imagine Stonecore. Imagine Stonecore. Then you could have the actual parchment on the game board be a kind of different color. You could make this a premium game board, a much more expensive one, where you're actually playing in the cave. And you're surrounded by this cavernous, kind of bright cave wall-ish area. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if any of you have seen Stonecore in World of Warcraft, but it's a crazy looking zone. It sometimes looks like a bit of a disco in there. Although I think the actual zone is called Deepholm and the instance is called Stonecore, same thing. But there's some really interesting stuff that you could do there. With spiraling rocks going like all the way up to the top, so it could make you feel like you're really inside this cave. Then you could do something like, imagine a wetlands board, where the parchment is sort of drenched in water and you've got this light drizzle that's there the whole time. Then you can have Menethil Harbor, bottom left. You could have the Dwarven Keep, top left. You could have the Warden's Grove, or whatever that place is called, top right. And you could have the excavation site, bottom right. That would be fun. Then you can start fiddling around with weather effects. A drizzle. A light drizzle on the game board, and you must hear that. Okay, it must not just be a visual effect. You know how soothing a light drizzle is? Take it from me. With us having winter down here in South Africa, a light drizzle is amazing. It amplifies my skill at Hearthstone tenfold. Truly it does. I play much better if it's stormy weather outside. If it's gaming weather. That's just so nice. Then you could have something like, Icecrown, where you could have a slightly snowy map, where you could have like the snow sort of cleared away from the middle, so you've still got the parchment there, but it could be like encroaching from the sides. And I don't need to tell you about the famous locations in Icecrown. I mean, I guess you could have the Crusader Zone, whatever that place is where you used to do the dailies. Then you could have the actual Lich King's throne in the one corner, have him sitting there frozen. That would be so cool. Wow. The Wrathgate. Is it called the Wrathgate? I think so. These are the kind of things that I personally would spend money on in a game like that. Once it comes out, at least. These are the kind of things I like to see them add. Now, as I said before, if you buy this, they could just add it to your random rotation, or perhaps give you the option to just use that one exclusively. I would personally prefer to just add it to the rotation and have it pop up every now and then. Keep things varied, keep things fresh, keep things interesting. But I would still enjoy it a whole lot. Then, taking it a step further, why not make a Valentine's Day map? Why not make a Christmas map? Winter's Day. Is it even called? No, it's not. Why not make a Halloween themed map? Because the guys at Blizzard already modify their game world in World of Warcraft so much for the holidays. Why not do the same thing in Hearthstone, and don't make it just a temporary effect? Or perhaps do modify the existing game boards, but give players the option to buy one as a keepsake, to remember that holiday and their time spent playing Hearthstone during that holiday. Why not? There are so many fun and interesting options that Blizzard have at their disposal. They could even just add a simple day-night system. That would make it a whole lot more interesting as well in some circumstances. I'd even pay for that. I suppose that's not the kind of thing that they'd sell on the in-game store, but that's interesting. Or they could rather just make some of them at day, some of them at night, some of them dawn, some of them like early evening with a nice... No, you can't put lens flare on there. Don't put lens flare on any of the game boards, please. Don't do that. But there are a whole lot of options. Imagine all the different capital cities. Shatrath. Wow. That would be something special, although that would probably just be the Aldor and the Scryers. No one wants to see those guys anymore. We've seen enough of them. But that's my idea. That's my idea for game boards, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. What would you like to see as a game board in Hearthstone from the World of Warcraft? Now, we're not even going to talk about things outside the World of Warcraft. Imagine adding a Diablo-themed one. Why not put Tristram in there? Well, I know why not. I can think of 100 reasons why not to do it. But wow, there are so many more that would tell you it needs to be done. So what do you guys think? What is your favorite area in World of Warcraft? What one area would you like to sit down in to play a game of cards in? Let me know. Let me know which areas you'd like to see in Hearthstone as game boards, and from those areas, which landmarks would be cool to see. There are so many possibilities. Take Duskwood, for example. You've got the Grove, the one with the big portal in. What is it called? Is it called the Twilight Grove? Then you've got Darkshire. You could take, is it Raven Hill? Abercrombie's Hut. There are so many, the Ogre Mound, that's bottom left somewhere. There are so many possibilities. And again, Darkshire would be a really cool, creepy looking map. You could put different ambient sounds on there. Maybe make use of all the different World of Warcraft music that Blizzard obviously have at their disposal. Throw some of it in there. Change it a little bit to suit the theme of Hearthstone. It could work. So let me know what you would like to see in the game. What, if you could tell Blizzard, you know, this is one area you can't ignore. This is one area that screams World of Warcraft. This is one area that I would pay for. Let me know. I can't wait to see all the suggestions, all the different ideas that you guys have, because I just thought of a couple, like kind of right off the top of my head, and I just put them here in this notepad, and I thought to myself, well, those would be great, but there are probably so many others that would be even better that I'd love to see in there. That's it. These are the kind of discussion videos I'm going to be putting up because I have a lot to say about a whole lot of different things, and I did speak briefly about what I think they should do with the in-game store here, but the focus was definitely on the game boards, not the actual in-game store. I'll talk about that in a different video, about the pricing of items on there, about all the different things they could potentially put in there. Even more ideas for that. Believe you me, I could make them a lot of money. Not that they need it, because people are buying so many card packs already. Anyway, check back here soon for more discussion videos. Please leave all the comments in the world telling me which areas you'd love to see in Hearthstone and how they should be implemented, which kind of weather effects you'd like to see, all of it. Let rip. Give the video a like, share it with everyone you know. Most importantly though, happy Hearthstone, and happy thinking up new ideas for game boards in Hearthstone. Happy that.